Welcome to Sulphur Springs, Arkansas. You know, I drove through here and did a video called Small Town Downtown, where I drove through 10 small towns in kind of this part of Arkansas and then up in Missouri, which is just a couple miles down the road. And I was really struck by this town when I came through. And in those videos, we make just a quick pass through, but I made a note that I want to come back and explore and learn a little bit more about kind of what happened to this town. Why did it, form? Why did it get its name? And then what happened to it? Because it looks like it's half abandoned, half artsy. There's, we have a little kind of waterfall over here behind me, and just kind of an interesting, strange, unusual place. And if you watch the video I put out on Christmas Day about Knoll, Missouri, it's just a few miles down the road. Actually, the Dweller's Cave, literally probably 3-4 miles down the road. So this is the area that we're in that same kind of vicinity, just across the border in another state. So let's walk down kind of the Main Street area. There's a couple, I guess you could call it main streets, that have buildings that are more modern and then buildings that are older. So we'll walk down through both of those areas and then learn about Sulphur Springs, Arkansas. Sulphur Springs is in Benton County, which is the most northwest county in Arkansas. There are 7 different communities in Arkansas named Sulphur Springs, but this is the only one that's an incorporated town. The original city site contained numerous natural mineral springs, including a rare lithium spring. The reported healing properties of these springs led to the creation of this small community. A post office was established in 1878, and the city was laid out in 1885. Sulphur Springs was designated a terminal for what became the Kansas City Southern Railroad, and the first train arrived in 1891. Remained the end of the rail line for 2 years. Hotels and other businesses were quickly established. In 1909, the Kihlberg Hotel opened. We're going to show you more of that later in the video. It was built by the Sulphur Springs Sanatorium Hotel and Bath Company and named for Oscar Kihlberg as city promoter. The hotel was constructed of native limestone and was 5 stories high with 100 rooms. However, it was not successful. The railroad had been promoting Sulphur Springs to working-class lead and coal miners, while the hotel was built with an upper-class clientele in mind. The hotel was operated under a series of owners and names, none of them finding much profit. Fires in 1911-1912 caused damage to this downtown and a local electrical plant. Eventually, the railroad dropped Sulphur Springs as an excursion point. What was then U.S. Highway 71 was built through the city in 1926. The road that runs through town now is State Highway 59. In 1924, evangelist John Brown bought the hotel along with much of downtown Sulphur Springs and opened John Brown University. The new school was originally envisioned as a place to educate the children of Brown's wealthier donors. However, the university never turned a profit and failed to be accredited as a university. Brown tried running the Sulphur Springs campus as a high school academy and junior college for women, but in 1926 closed the school. By this time, he had angered many of the townspeople, having begun his own university church to compete with local congregations. In 1930, the Kihlberg property became the Julia A. Brown School for Children. The School for Children was placed in 1937 with Brown Academy, a military academy. In 1940, the academy burned. It was rebuilt, though only to the second floor to look like what it is today. Once again, we'll show you that building here later in the video. Back then, Sulphur Springs was known as a sundown town, a place where African Americans were forbidden from living, often through threat of violence. In 1965, Sulphur Springs School was consolidated with the nearby town of Gravette. Ozark Colony was a nearby community established in 1921 by Walter Eaton, a retired oil man, who established the colony as an intellectual and artistic recreation-based cooperative. People would buy a plot of land and agree to work in the community-held ventures, with the proceeds going towards the vacation expenses in the colony. People worked in the vineyard that was owned collectively under the name Ozark Colony Grape Club and processed grapes into juice and marmalade to sell. The colony had more than 40 cottages, a Grecian theater with classical recitals and costume performers. Painter John Elliott Jenkins kept a studio in the colony. His paintings are now in state capitals and libraries in Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Texas, and Virginia. You can see the population figures were pretty steady throughout the years. It did peak in the year 2000 and has fallen off quite a bit in the last 20 years, down to 481. Here's an overhead view of the Kihlberg Hotel that I had mentioned before. And right next to it, this is the Livingston Hotel. It was built in 1910. And I believe it's a sort of local museum now. Wasn't open on this day. But then as you turn around, you'll see this very large, impressive building. And I definitely noticed it driving by and drove up on the hill to go check it out. And it's interesting to see the old pictures of it. See how much taller it used to be. Obviously there was that fire that happened. And now it's been used for so many different things, from a university to academy to, I'm sure, all kinds of events have been held in this building. And obviously it's seen better days, but hopefully they can keep it going at some level, at least keep that structure looking nice. Very cool building to see here in a small town like Sulphur Springs. There's downtown. Come over to the historic Springs area. Well, we're back not too far from where we started here in the park, and we have the springs that were here for the health reasons. And I'm not sure if this was original. Probably, I'm guessing, the original location. These little, coverings look fairly modern, but it's pretty cool. They've put some old signs and kind of showing you where people would have come to see the springs. What a fascinating history all around. And I knew driving through it the first time, like I said when I made that previous video, there was something more to Sulphur Springs, so definitely glad I checked it out. Fascinating place, even though it isn't what it used to be. It's still here for us to visit and learn and be fascinated by what used to be here. Sulphur Springs has a heck of a playground right here at the park. And of course, they've got a death go round. Pretty basic paint job. And that's a spinner. Check out this setting. You got the old historic buildings up there, downtown, all the playground equipment. The thing just keeps spinning. I love it. We're gonna give it an 8.6. Man, look at that thing go. It's been at least 5 minutes, it's still spinning. Wow, it's not windy today.